This is RJ Carbone, and you're listening to BD4.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes this down. One by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the RJ Barrett does it again from downtown. He is just tearing the Orioles apart. It's good. Randle gets the bounce, and he ties the game.
Houston ducks under. Got it! With 8 left.
Up and ran. Slam the other way for Aaron Judge.
Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win. The Yankees win.
What a weekend in sports. Seriously, dude. That was a hell of a weekend for sports. I mean, if you're an NFL fan, you have to be on cloud nine right now. I'm not even an NFL fan. I'm more of a casual fan, but I was even into these games this weekend. It helps when you have a little bit of money on them, but it's still entertaining. If you're an NFL fan, I'm sure you are on cloud freaking nine. Those 4 games, especially the 2 today, were amazing. And today, I mean Sunday. As I am recording, it is Sunday, the 23rd. Which, as you are listening to this show, it should be Monday, the 24th. Welcome to BD4, but we have the NFL going off. We have the UFC with a very solid 270 pay-per-view card. And then we have the Knicks, which we'll get to. So we're talking Knicks, and we're talking some MMA in this episode. So welcome to BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, episode 311 of the podcast. Welcome to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. And we also do MMA now too. We will be recapping the events on the weekends. So this is one of those MMA Saturday recaps. We'll include that in this episode while we talk about the Knicks too a little bit later. My voice is cracking because I lost my voice this weekend, screaming so much at the TV. Excitement, anger, sadness, because so much happened in the sports world. Guys, if you are new here, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find BD4 on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on all the platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, many other listening platforms. And you can now watch the podcast, you could have for a while, on YouTube. If you want to watch the video format of this podcast, we are also available on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to us on there. Download this episode on any of the listening platforms you're on. Share this podcast with your friends on social media, which, speaking of, you can find me on social media too. My Facebook is at RJ Carbone. And if you want to find my Instagram handle, that's at RobJCarbone. All right, Facebook, RJ Carbone, Instagram, Rob J. Carbone. But it was a weekend for sports, man, and I want to get into some of what we're going to discuss in the Knicks and in the MMA world. The UFC, specifically 270, took place on Saturday night, and it was a good one. So let's get to our first break. And when we get back, we will certainly get things started. Stay with us. Hey guys, so I've noticed that only a small portion of you who watch BD4 on YouTube are actually subscribed. So if you do enjoy this podcast and maybe you want to be notified when new episodes release, I'd consider subscribing and also hitting that notification bell. This way we can help the channel grow and you won't miss a single episode of BD4. All right, let's get back to it. All right. So, again, guys, really quickly, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast, do that right now. Whichever platform you listen to these episodes on, or maybe you watch the episodes on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to us wherever. Download it, share it, rate and review, comment, all that stuff. You know what to do. It was a good weekend for the UFC. I think it was a very solid first pay-per-view of the year. I wouldn't go any further than that. I wouldn't go any below solid. I think solid is the proper word to describe UFC 270. You know, whew. I had a lot of fun watching the undercard. Some people skip the prelims, and maybe the more casual fans just wait for the main card, or maybe some just wait for the two main events. But I actually like watching these. I watched all of the prelims, even in fight cards. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like into it now. I'm so into this sport. But yeah, I thought the undercard was actually, you could make a case for 270. The undercard was just as entertaining as the main card, and that's not a knock on the main card. I mean, there were some good fights in the preliminaries. I mean, the first fight of the night on the early prelims was Kate Hansen versus we'll call her Jazzy J, because I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Hansen lost, but it was a fairly entertaining fight. I believe it won all 3 rounds, and Hansen lost it to Jazzy J by decision. But I thought that was an okay fight. A lot of it was on the ground, a lot of grappling. The second fight was great on the early prelims. You know, it lasted just a few minutes, but Vanessa, she's got a Greek last name. I don't even want to try pronouncing it. She gets dropped. She gets dropped by Juarez, but then ends up reversing that by getting the submission while on the ground on Juarez. So she gets her to tap, and first of all, it was a great fight by her. She looks like she's some big fighter on the ups. Good prospect to keep your eye on. But yeah, she really made the headlines with her interview in the octagon with Rogan afterwards, jumping all on his arms, and he was obviously caught off guard. It was a pretty funny moment there, but she had a good fight. You know, you get to the preliminaries, the main prelims. What's that kid's name? It was Gravely versus Oliveira. That fight was a friggin' murder fest. Absolute war. Two guys just trading shots. Gravely ends up winning that by decision. And I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Jack Hermanson, big knockout win. You know, he had the dude on the ground, and he looked like he was hesitating going in. I don't know if he was trying to perfect his last couple of punches in there, or if he thought the fight was going to be called prematurely, but it wasn't. But then Herb Dean calls it. He jumps on him, then Herb Dean calls it. Boom, it's over. So he had a big knockout win. And I've seen Hermanson fight before. It was one of the names on the prelims that I actually recognized. And then the last fight on the undercard was Victor Henry. Now, Victor Henry impressed a lot of people last night. This was his UFC debut, and he's coming in as the huge underdog because the guy he's fighting, I forget, he might be I think it was some Brazilian, I forget his name. The guy he was fighting was a veteran. He had 7 UFC fights under his belt and a bit more MMA fights than Victor Henry did too. But the whole fight was action-packed. Great technique by Henry. He's, from what I hear about him, his fights are never boring. They're always exciting. And this is a guy who's actually 34 years old himself, Victor Henry. So he's not exactly young. He's new to the UFC, but he's not young. I think he's got 24 MMA fights overall, but he says he's ready to go again soon. You know, I was watching his press conference. He said, as soon as I'm done eating this pizza, I'll pick up the phone. So we'll see what happens with him. It was a good fight, though. Then we get to the main card. The Michael Pereira fight, or the Michel Pereira fight was good. He picked up the win there, and I'm glad that was one of the, I had a 3-pick parlay going. It was Michel Pereira to win, it was Marino to win, and then it was the Gan Ngannou fight, the Gan and Ngannou fight to not be 5 rounds, which it wasn't. But obviously the parlay was already ruined by the time we got to the Marino fight. And it sucks, man, because I'm a huge Brandon Moreno fan. The kid's so easy to root for. He's such a happy dude. And his whole story is great. Gets cut by the UFC, comes back, becomes a champion. And he's just a positive, high-energy guy, excuse me. But yeah, he lost last night. He lost by decision. And that, though, was clearly the fight of the night. I don't think there's any debate. That's got to be fight of the night, right? The Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo fight. But you talk about a war, that was an absolute war as well. And we're definitely going to have to get a 4th fight, which I'm sure Dana White will set up. I think, what's his name? Figueiredo was talking about he's willing to go to Mexico for the 4th fight. Obviously, that's Brandon's home location there. So, that's something. That's respectful, too. But this fight was great. It was technical the entire time, close the entire way. Just watching 2 guys just trying to pick each other apart, being so strategic and technical with it. And here's the thing. Just because that fight was very close and could have went either way, we need to stop calling it a robbery. Because we do that now with every single fight. Every single close fight, you're always going to hear that word now. It's. I was reading some, and I hate reading comments because they're all nonsensical. But like, it's most of these comments are people who've never fought a day in their lives, critiquing everybody and everything. And I ain't a fighter either. You don't see me, fighting out there, but you also don't see me bitching and moaning on everything inside the UFC promotion. I'm a fan. I enjoy the UFC. I'm a fan without the nagging like I do in baseball and basketball because I've at least studied and played those games a lot in my life. So I know those games. I'm new to fighting. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it, unlike a lot of people. But it was a good fight. I don't think anybody got robbed. I'm not a Davison Figueiredo fan. I don't really love the guy. Nothing against him. I root for. He's not easy to root for, like Marino is to me. But you got to give the guy credit. He won it, and he won it fair and square, in my opinion. Both fighters came out aggressive with low kicks. You could see Brandon, fighting with a little swagger to him early on. Both of them kind of, smiling and taunting at each other during the early rounds. Second round comes, Figueiredo lands a few flush shots on him, but then Marino countered pretty well. Third round, that's when you got the heavy lands coming. Brandon wobbled Figueiredo with a hard left, and then you get later, I think Figueiredo gets a knockdown. That's when Brandon drops. Figueiredo throws a big right at him. Fourth round comes. That's kind of when the momentum started to shift a little bit. This was all Figueiredo. He went back to those lead kicks, and Marino had trouble countering at that same rate. Looked like he was a little fatigued. The fifth round came. You have an early takedown for Brandon Moreno, but Figueiredo brings it back up to stand up briefly after that and gets a knockdown on Brandon again. Final seconds, both fighters trading their final punches, and eventually, via unanimous decision, Figueiredo wins. And it was a good fight. I'm excited to see, them two fight again, obviously, but I want to see how this shapes up. Where is it going to take place? Do the two have mutual respect for each other now? we're going to see. But that was definitely the fight of the night for sure. And then we get to the main event, which, all right, this wasn't what everybody thought it was. You know, I know everybody was expecting this to be, you had two gigantic specimens. Everyone wanted it to be a slugfest, or just I throw a punch, you throw a punch, I land a punch, you, like kind of like the Chandler Gaethje fight. But I, for one, liked it. You know, I actually thought it was pretty interesting. I enjoyed the fact that it went to the ground. You know, this is MMA. This is what MMA is. It's mixed martial arts. You want boxing? Just go watch boxing then. I like the strategy in MMA. And to this one, I thought it was very strategic. Once, you know, the later 3 rounds, because that's when the fight really went to the ground. But yeah, 2 huge heavyweight guys having to grapple for the later 3 rounds was pretty cool to me. It was different for both of them, you could see. But it was funny, yeah, because you go from 2 flyweights, right, and then you go right to Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane, and it's such a hilarious transition between the size. And you have to think Dana did that purposely, just for that. It was so funny to see that big ass transition there. But it was a good fight. I liked it. I thought Francis definitely could have done a lot more with his takedowns, but it was enough. It was enough for the internet to start calling him Khabib Nurmagomedov, which the dude who fought earlier on the main card was not related to him. But Gane couldn't figure it out. Gane couldn't figure it out. But when the fight was stand up, Ciryl Gane actually had the lead. He took the first 2 rounds, in my opinion, simply just by using his footwork. You know, it was a stand-up game, and Ciryl Gane kind of just coasted through those first 2 rounds, playing a little defense. He touched him with a few strikes too. But, you know, he was moving well like he usually does, and Francis had issues landing those big strikes, you know, because he exerted a lot of his energy in trying to keep up with Gane on his feet and grapple. But he did land that nice high kick in the 3rd round, which eventually he turned into a body slam. And then he had side control for a bit, and Ciryl brought it back to his feet. Later in the same round, it goes back to the ground when Francis scores another takedown. And 4th round, it was pretty similar without the high kick. Francis gets a takedown. Gane manages to escape it back to his feet again, and then ends up on the ground again when Francis gets another takedown. 5th round, Ciryl Gane gets a takedown early, but he tries going for a leg lock, and he kind of gives up position. This is where Francis ends up in top position. Could have done a lot more damage there, and I think that's where people kind of got bored, where a couple of times in this fight, you know, instead of taking advantage of having ground control, he's trying to position himself better, and he did that a lot. And eventually the horn just sounded. 25 minutes was up before you knew it, and Francis won by decision. Ciryl Gane knew it too. He knew it before they even... as soon as the horn sounded, you could tell by his facial expression, his mannerisms, that he was upset with himself, and he said so in the press conference too. But, you know, after the fight, Dana was not there to present the belt. And nor was he. I didn't watch the press conference, so I don't know for myself. But what I'm hearing is that he wasn't at the press conference to speak to the media like he usually does after these pay-per-view events. So that was interesting, because there's the whole contract dispute between the two of them. Francis doesn't feel like he has freedom, I think was the term he used. And then he's telling the media, Francis is, about all these injuries he suffered in training to his ACL, his MCL, which is, I always find interesting how fighters say this all the time after the fight. But I guess we got to take his word. He was hurt, but he won. He remains the king, and still. So he's the champ. The dude is built different, you know. He is absolutely built different. The guy's a physical specimen, and I don't know. I think Ciryl Gane will bounce back eventually. I think he's going to have another shot at it. Shot at that. He's the number one contender, obviously, right now. But we'll see what happens next for Francis and the UFC. We'll see we'll see what happens next with Ciryl Gane. That was his first UFC loss. He was 10-0. So, no, that was his first MMA loss. Yeah. So we'll see. But I thought it was a good card. I thought it was a solid card. An unpredictable final fight. An outstanding co-main event. And some pretty good cards, pretty good fights on the card leading up to those two main events. So I am satisfied with it. It's going to suck to be without a fight next weekend. But then there's pretty soon, actually. I think it's February 12th. Maybe not even. We're getting 271. With Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya. So that's already going to be a banger. Because, the main card on that is much better, on paper at least, than this main card was. So I think that's the card with Derek Lewis, and Tuivasa. Unless they move that back, I'm not sure. It's also got Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson on it. And a few other big names. So I'm excited to see that card. And, and I'm definitely going to keep tabs with the, the couple fight nights in between these two pay-per-views. So we'll see who's up next there. I forget. I was looking at the, I think there's only one fight night. And then we get to the next pay-per-view. Let me look that up. Let me look this up. Yeah, so 271 is Izzy and Whittaker. That's on February 12th. Today's the 23rd. Okay. So, I think 2 fight nights. 2 fight cards. Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, wow. So, Jack Hermanson, who just fought, is on the next card. He's headlining the next fight night card. Going up against Sean Strickland. So, I'm a big fan of Strickland. I like him. I think he's fun. He adds a little flair to a lot of things. Right. You know what? I said Jack Hermanson before when I was talking about one of the preliminary fights. I meant to talk... Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. It wasn't Hermanson. Hermanson's on the next fight card. We were talking about the fight where Pete Rodriguez got knocked out on the ground and the dude was taking his time hitting him. That was Jack Melladonna or something. I forget the kid's name. I mistakenly said Hermanson, but it was besides that, it was a good fight. It was a good card. I'm very satisfied with it. I was down the street with my buddies, so I had a good time. And other than the fact that I lost some money on it, didn't win money, whatever, it was a good card. So yeah, I enjoyed it. That's all we've got for this MMA segment of the show. But the second half of this show, we'll briefly go over this Knicks-Clippers game, and we'll wrap it up from there. So stay with us. Let's head to break. When we get back, we'll touch on the Knicks. Stay with us. So if you guys want to follow me on social media, be sure to do so right now. I'm on Facebook at rjcarbone, and I'm also on Instagram at rjcarbone. Once again, if you want to find me on Facebook, that is rjcarbone. Instagram at robjcarbone. So BD4 is on so many platforms to listen to. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can find us on our sponsor, Anchor, and many other listening platforms as well, wherever you get your podcasts. But we are also available to watch on YouTube. So if you want to watch us on YouTube, go subscribe there. But if you prefer to listen to us, again, many listening platforms. Just be sure to subscribe, download, give us a rating, a review, comment, share the podcast, and all that fun stuff. This is BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. All right, so the Knicks, yeah, they won. They picked up a nice victory against the Clippers this afternoon, 110-102, and let me just set this up here real quick. Here we go. 110-102. Yeah, they wrapped up a miserable home trip where they lost the first 3 games, and then they picked up the victory today to go 1-3 on the homestand, which sucks because heading into this we were saying, well, the schedule is going to get really tough starting on Monday. We have the Cavs tomorrow, and it just gets tougher from there for the rest of this month, and then for a good chunk to start the month of February. So I was saying that they should have went no worse than 3-1, considering they were at home during this homestand, and they were playing against some very beatable teams. But instead, they go 1-3. But I guess we discussed this game on a positive note because they finally did pick up a victory after losing 3 straight. Whew, it was tough, but a good thing we looked pretty decent today. They shoot 44% from three-point distance, which was a positive, the Knicks. And also, they finally hit their free throws. The Knicks were 84% at the foul line today, and also what stood out to me was the plus 12 on the boards. So, all across the board, the offense was there, the defense was playing hard, and the Knicks pick up a rare matinee win. It was their actually their first Sunday victory of the season. They always come out flat on these Sunday afternoon games, but today both sides who don't usually score came out hot. Both RJ Barrett and Julius Randle played well in the same game, also a rarity. Barrett finished with 28, 14, and 6. Julius had 24, 9, and 5. The Knicks are actually 4-1 this season when both RJ Barrett and Randle score 20 points or more. Something to keep an eye on. It's pretty simple. Your 2 top guns play the way they should. The Knicks play well. Friggin' Julius set the tone early. And, he played well throughout the game until late. We'll talk about that for a second. The bigs were good. I thought our big men were great. Mitch was great. He was on his way to a double-double before, unfortunately, leaving with the ankle sprain. He says on social media that it's just a little tweak, so we shall see. Hopefully that is all, because you hate to see a guy go down, as he's in the midst of finding some consistency once and for all. He was playing really well. Very similar to last year. Remember that happened to him last year before he went down with the injury. He was playing on a really hot stretch. But I thought he was good. We'll see how long he is out. But at least Noel seems to be back for now. I don't even know when this guy's available anymore. But today he returned. He looked pretty sharp. The knee didn't look like an issue today. He was moving well, on both ends of the court. And he had 7 rebounds, which was a nice surprise. He's not usually effective on the glass, but tonight he was pretty effective, or today. Cam Reddish debuted today. He got a big 5 minutes. The second half I thought we could have used some more of him. But we'll see. His only basket displayed what we'll probably be getting. He played some good defense, got the rebound, and then pushed the pace and finished coast to coast. So a nice reverse layup. So that's what we have him for, that athleticism, some defense, and he can shoot a little bit too, especially from the corners. But again, it's going to come down to whose minutes does he take? Is he going to take Obi Toppin's minutes? You have to believe that at some point Obi Toppin will be out the door. There's just no place for him on this team. Does he take some of Quentin Grimes' minutes? But we'll figure all that out with the trade deadline approaching soon. Emmanuel quickly had his moments today. He checks in second quarter, scores in a bunch, 7 quick points, and, hitting some 3-point shots, attacked the paint early, but I liked his distributing. I thought he played some pretty good point guard, quickly did. He had 6 assists, and he was just finding open shooters, and his teammates who were open, he did a good job there. Fournier was solid. He was okay. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 for 8 on threes. Active on both ends, and he hit timely shots tonight. I keep saying tonight. RJ Barrett, though, is the story of this game. He leads the way. Doesn't shoot well. He missed a couple of bunnies there at the end, but it was a big-time performance for RJ Barrett. I want to discuss his effort real quick. First, let's get to our final break. Stay with us. Hey, guys. I hope you're enjoying this episode. But first, I also want to let you know I have another blog. The blog I'm writing for is on ultimatesportsnetworks.com, titled The Bomber Bacher Blog. If you want to go subscribe to this blog, you should do so using my promo code 6A2841ERJC. Using that, you'd get a discount, $7.99 a month, to get the best Knicks and Yankees opinionated content around. Once again, guys, the Bomber Bacher blog on ultimatesportsnetworks.com using promo code 6A2841ERJC, $7.99 a month. A custom wall tapestry is a surefire way to uplift any room's aesthetics with a personal touch. This 100% polyester wall tapestry comes with hemmed edges for extra durability, while its mildew and water-resistant properties ensure years' worth of decorating bliss. The advanced tapestry printing techniques guarantee crisp detail even for the craziest of designs in any of the multiple size choices. You can select a size of 26 by 36 inches, 51 by 60, 68 by 80, and 88 by 104. These wall tapestries usually ship in 7 to 10 business days, and the price ranges from $24.99 to $69.99, all dependent on the size you select. The Bomber Bacher blog wall tapestries come in orange, gray, and black. But most importantly, be sure when purchasing a wall tapestry for the Bomber Bacher blog that you use promo code 6A2841ERJC. 6A2841ERJC. Just go to ultimatesportsnetworks.com and click on the Shop MVP tab, searching the Bomber Bacher blog. And there you have it. Listen, RJ Barrett is going to be the key. He is going to be the key to this team, and he needs to be given the keys to this offense. He does. He needs to be let into the driver's seat and get this thing flowing. I hope you can't hear my phone blowing up right now. The freaking vibrations. I have a custom vibration where, you can pick your vibrations on it. Like you can pick the rhythm. I've got I've tried to mimic the PC Richards. It's the PC Richards tone. Like when the Yankees get a strikeout, they'll play that tone and try to make customize it. And so when I get a text, it just keeps going off in that tone. It's like I'm getting a bunch of texts right now, and it's pissing me. It's just loud. Fuck it. RJ Barrett. Listen, got to give him the kid. I love the way he's playing. We have to keep giving him the ball. We have to keep the ball in RJ's hands. For this team to play well, I think we have to let him initiate things. I love the way he's playing. I love the way he's driving. He's pushing the pace in transition. Today, great example of that. With the rebounding, he's got 14 rebounds in this game. He helped, getting those rebounds helped him get out on the break as much as he did, right? He was getting into the lane. And that opened up the offense for everybody else, too. He was getting Mitchell Robinson involved today in the half court. Part of Mitch's resurgence is due to RJ getting those on-ball reps, and Randle plays off of RJ Barrett pretty well, too. He's taking less shots. In their last 10 games together, RJ has more field goal attempts in 8 of those games. The other 2 times, in one of them he has just as many attempts, and the other he only has 1 less. So, and it's not just shot attempts. It's, if you actually watch these games, it's the amount of reps he's getting, the ball time. It's things, you watch the Knicks, you could see we're initiating things through him. We're being ran through RJ Barrett. He is being featured as the focal point of the offense, which is what we need to keep doing. More importantly, though, do you see what happens when Kemba Walker is not on the floor as the point guard? Right? When Walker was sitting out, RJ was doing his thing. He comes back for a couple of games. RJ is relegated back to that spot-up role. Today, Kemba sits. RJ cooks again. We can't have all these ball handlers on the floor at the same time and expect RJ's game to flourish. And that was a big part of last year's, as good as RJ played, a lot of his buckets came from spot-ups, right? As good as he was last year, he was more of a 3-and-D guy. And that's not really what he was entering the league. That's not who he is. So you want to get him on the ball like he is right now, flourishing. You got to split them up. And I think Kemba's definitely out of here. There's no way he lasts. It's just too much to plan around. Is he playing? Is he not playing? When are we supposed to schedule a rest day? The back-to-back thing. It's just too much, and I think it's only $8 million, so they're either going to waive him or they'll find a partner to move him with. But, I think he's got to go. That whole thing is a mess. It's, would you rather have Kemba Julius or an RJ offense, right? That's pretty much what it comes down to. I was listening to a show. They made a really good point on that. But yeah, you can't have 3 ball handlers in one lineup. You have to, in order to get RJ, your number 3 draft pick, who you're supposed to be building around, he has to get his opportunities. And you can see the team plays much better when he's running the ball up the court and he's initiating these half-court sets. And it's not Randle in these point forward spots or Kemba Walker being the guy, because Kemba's more of a decent scorer and he's not really going to get everybody involved. He's not a pass first guy. He's not that RJ is a point forward, but RJ is a guy who can open up everything else. He opens up the spacing for the offense and he's an efficient slasher when he's on his game. And I think in order for him to be on his game, he just has to continue to grow by getting these reps. And I like what we're getting right now from him. But, we have to keep buying into it. Julius Randle played well. He shot efficiently, and he's buying into this RJ Barrett thing too. Hopefully he continues that. He shot 8 for 15 to score 24 points. He had 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Again, he sets the tone early, and late it got a little bit Randle-y again later, right? The Clippers started sending multiple doubles, and he took a bit too long to make decisions. He ended up with 7 turnovers, but the key with him all the time is going to be those make quicker decisions. The quick decision-making was why he thrived so much last season. This year, not so much. We had some more extended high post-up possessions, too, at the end of that game, which bothered me, but I like that he let RJ cook, and that's been the story during this 12 or whatever game stretch that RJ is on right now, where he's dropping 20 to 30 a night. So yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts on this Knicks game. Just got to keep going through RJ. I think that's key. Let the kid cook, let him do his thing, and I think this Knicks team will be better off that way. They are now. I want to look at the I'm going to look at the standings in a second, but I think they're 23 and 24 with the 10th spot maybe. I got to look, but it's clear. It's day and night when you watch this team play. All depending on how they scheme their offense. If it's ran through RJ, they look a lot better. And obviously the kid's going to have his ups and downs. But this is the way to go. This is how you have to go about it. Even if the Knicks don't make the playoffs, it's a positive takeaway if you can keep running it through Barrett. I just hope that Thibodeau knows this. I hope that Randle accepts this role, for the rest of the season. And we'll see where it goes there. We've got Cleveland tomorrow. And I only think we have 2 days off this week before it gets really tough. But Cleveland's a tough team themselves. Good young team. Looks like they're going to be in the playoffs this year. So we'll see what happens, guys. That's all I've got for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's end with the NYY-NYK question of the day.
It's time!
All right. So this will be, for the NYY-NYK-MMA question of the day, this will be an MMA question. When Conor McGregor made his UFC debut in 2013, who did he fight against and what was the specific result? All right, when Conor McGregor... I can't fucking speak. I'm just stumbling over my words right now. When Conor McGregor made his UFC debut in 2013, who did he fight against and what was the specific result? Let me know the answer on Facebook or Instagram. Whether that be in my comment section or in the comment or in my DMs once I publish this episode. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, episode 311 of BD4. That's all we've got. Great weekend for the UFC. A good bounce back victory for the Yankees, for the Knicks today. There I go again. And we'll see what happens going forward. So subscribe, follow, like, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys. Ciao. This podcast is brought to you by Anchor. It's the best way to make a podcast. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.